In this video, I'm going to make a card with the adorable interactive up and down dynamics dies and kind of a fun twist that I found. Now I have some snow cone ink to build my background with. I also have this incredible cloud stencil, and you will see how I use that. I'm using the To the Rescue stamp set with little kitties and puppies that are dressed up like superheroes because that is my theme today. This is such a cute set. And it does have the coordinating dies, which I used, and I colored and cut these little guys out. I cut myself out a sun and a dog and a cat, and they are going to be my moving parts for this card. Now, when I use an interactive die, I really like to cut out all the parts and pieces and put them on a sticky mat just to keep myself organized and keep me from losing something. Now, I also put the spin and slide discs onto the sticky mat. This is a great way to hold them down so that you can just lightly sand the top of these. This helps the glue stick better, and the sticky mat just really helps me do that. So I've cut out all of the pieces. You will need a ruler and a pencil as well to make this die all come together. And I have these cut out of brushed silver cardstock. These are the outside the box Cityscape Dynamics. How perfect is that with my little superheroes? And then I have 2 containers of the different slider elements that MFT sells. They look like candy, and I just keep them separated and in my little embellishment container. So when I cut these out, these actually make a really cute box die card, but I noticed that they have a little slot in them that happens to match up with the movement slots in the up and down dynamics. So I hatched a plan to use these 2 together, and I cut the 2 little tabs that make the box card die off to just create a little city scene. Now you'll notice that these slots are not as long as the slots cut by the die, so you can just cut those with an X-Acto to extend them to the length of the base die, which is what I did. So you just cut them all the way down to the bottom. It's very easy to do. Now I'm going to be layering these up to create a very busy city scene. I changed my mind a couple of times, as you will see. So just take these out and sort of play with them until you get what you like. You'll see me cut the tops off the other little channels in the other pieces that I cut out to make sure that that channel goes all the way down. So you can see I just snipped off that top part of that one channel. I end up moving this over, but the fact that these are the same dies that I'm using means that I can extend that channel down and make it match the base interactive die. So arrange the scene however you'd like, but just keep in mind there are several other of these scenic box dies that you could use in this way to have as a canvas, if you will, for the little characters that are going to be going up and down. Now, I felt like this arrangement gave me a little bit more variation, so the same buildings weren't on top of each other, and it had a little more randomness. So before I glue those down, I'm filling in with a strip of the brushed silver cardstock on bottom so that all of the layers are level and the same height. So on this little piece that I'm going to be putting on top of the channel, I will also snip that top. You can see how that lines up right there. And I'll just snip that so it's open and my little characters can go all the way up and all the way down that channel. Now you'll see me throughout this video putting magnets on top of elements that are drying. I just find this really helpful, helps keep it flat, and I can just let those sit there, and the magnets create such a strong weight on top of whatever it is I'm gluing down. So here I'm just moving around to figure out, I know some is going to be cut off the edge, so I want it to sort of make sense. So I'm figuring out which channel to put where, and then snipping the tops and putting those on there. So basically I'm finishing the front of the card with the exception of the moving characters before moving on to the mechanism that the die creates. Now I'm just using an adhesive eraser to get any little extra glue off this beautiful cardstock, and then I will trim off the extras. So there it is, all trimmed up. And you do want to kind of work on the front of your card before flipping it over and doing the mechanism. I just feel like it makes it easier. So you can see that in between the two channels, I found the center with a ruler and a pencil. And I'm just going to poke a hole with a piercing tool through to the front. There'll be a little brad that lets the whole thing move. Brads are magical. Let's make brads come back. And so you'll need a hole poked there. Now the pull tab die has a little spot marked for the spin and slide element, and I like to use this Tombow metal glue. It's great for metal or plastic, but any strong glue will work. And I will just pop one of the little spin and slides on there in that little circle. I think this is genius to have those things marked and embossed. Now I did layer these up twice, both of them. I cut 2 of the T and 2 of the pull tab and glued them together. Here's the little hinge piece that forms the slider backing for the little characters. And what you do is they are scored, so you just fold them in half at the score line, and you put them in just like door hinges, honestly, and then slide them down until they are next to each other. And then we will secure them with one of the little circles that is stuck on my sticky mat that the die cuts out. So see how that goes together? And then you'll have the exact same effect on the front. Of course, that's what we'll glue the characters to. And then I like to just use a Teflon bone folder to really crisp up that score. So I'll grab one of these circles. You can see I cut multiples. When I first sat down to work with this die, I didn't know how many of those I would need. So I just cut extra, and then I pop the extras into the packaging with my die that I store it in, so that next time I already have some. So again, I will fold these little guys and put them in the other channel. On the other side, you can use dimensional tape. You can use double-sided tape to put your little characters in, just depending on what you want your scene to look like. So again, I will crisp that up with my bone folder and glue one of these circles down. Now just be a little bit careful with the glue. You wouldn't want to get glue on the card base itself so that the whole thing didn't move. Then you would be really sad. So just take care with your glue. You don't need much. Now this is scored as well. This is the little sleeve that the pull tab goes through. This sort of holds it in place while it's moving back and forth, so it just doesn't go up and down. And I'm going to show you another way to kind of really make sure it's in the exact right spot. Just a little extra tip that I like to do. So just let these dry completely. Don't get impatient. You want that adhesive to really set because this will have moving pieces. So it needs to be really, really dry. So now those are great. I can glue using the metal glue the other spin and slides on here. These are what will pop through the little T and make this seesaw magic happen. I know it can be hard to visualize at first, but this is super simple. And trust me, it has to be simple for me to be able to do it. So this is a really easy process. And think what a special birthday card this would be for a niece or nephew or any young or old person in your life. It's just so much fun to have a card that moves around. So now you want to put the brad through all the way to the front of the card. I started to put it in backwards. I wasn't looking at what I was doing, but you want the rounded side of the brad on the front of the card, the legs coming through to the back, and they will be secured to the T mechanism. So because this is several layers of that brushed silver cardstock, I had to make that hole just a little bit bigger. See how I wrote back on here? When it's back and it's right side up, I know that it's going to be in the right position for my design on the front. Now I just held the pull tab under the legs a little bit. The die designer suggested that because that keeps you from getting that brad in there so tightly that the mechanism won't move. So that just helps you give it a little space. Put some double-sided tape on the little hinges on the front, and now we can start to put this whole moving part together. So you can sort of see how this is going to work once the T is attached to the spin and slide discs, and you cap those discs off with a little circle, and that keeps that from popping out. It's really pretty genius. She must be some kind of engineer to think of all of that, but it just works so well. And then the spin and slide that's on the pull tab will go into this slot on the bottom, and it'll be the one that moves the whole thing. It's the man behind the curtain. So you can sort of see how that's going to work once we get that affixed with a little circle. Now, the one thing you do want to pay attention to before you glue down the pull tab is you need to leave yourself a little bit of room for the foam tape below the pull tab. So you can see me moving it around so I can give myself some space. But I put some strong double-sided adhesive on the back of the sleeve. And then I'm just sort of looking to see how much room I need for my foam strips. Depending on what foam you're using, that's going to be a different amount of space, so just adjust accordingly. So once I find out where that's going to be, then I can start putting foam on and add the final circle for that bottom spin and slide disc. So see how I left myself just enough room? It does two things. It serves as like a little bumper for the pull tab, so it stays straight. And then I will actually add a little second bumper just for insurance. But you can see how the dimension of that tape raises it up to the level of the slide mechanisms. And so it'll slide easily when you put it down on your card base. But you can see how that's going to go. Now mine, I forgot to put the little circle on the last one. So mine slipped out a little bit. And then I'm going to put another bumper behind the pull tab just to serve as like an end cap. Like it's not going to go any farther than that. So now you can see how it works after it dries. It's so much fun. So I'm going to trim off just a tiny bit of this T. See how it gets kind of close to the edge of the card, depending on how much your foam tape takes up. Again, you'll want to just wiggle that around a little bit before you put your foam tape on there. I like these little skinny foam tape strips. They work really well, and it freely moves my little elements up and down. This is so much fun. I would have just not even been able to believe it if I had gotten a birthday card like this when I was a kid. Now, I put another little bumper at the top of the pull tab so it didn't kind of go sideways, and I made it a little bit too big. So I'm trimming that down. Again, just test and wiggle that around so you know that you are using the entire mechanism and not stopping yourself. But I like my pull tabs to be really straight, so that's why I did that step. So now I will attach my little critters. They're so cute. Look at that little kitty. I made him an orange tabby. So cute. And then I'll put my sun on there, and you can see how much fun this is. Oh my gosh. Here's the finished card. I really hope you give this die a try because it can be used with so many different scenes, and it just makes such a special card. Thanks so much for watching.